Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to the Central Tablelands Weeds Authority meeting on the 20th of June 2025. I welcome members and those in the gallery and those who are asking questions under item 5. I note that we have Katie Graham attending by Teams audio visual link. All other members are present. Could I ask that someone move a motion that Katie's attendance by Teams be approved? Thank you, Member Gulliver and Member Dawson seconding. Thank you. All in favour? Thanks very much. Central Tablelands Weeds Authority acknowledges the Rotary people, the traditional custodian of the land where we work and live. CTWA celebrates the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of the New South Wales Central Tablelands. Item 3, can I remind everyone to please have your mobile phones off or on silent, please, flight mode. Members of the public are advised that proceedings of this meeting, other than any confidential matters, will be recorded and made publicly available on the CTWA website, and persons attending the meeting should note that their conduct is being recorded. Item 4 is disclosure of interest. Are there any members with a disclosure of interest? Any conflicts of interest? I note that there are no disclosures. Item 5 is public question time. In accordance with section 5 of the meeting practice, titled Public Questions, Time and Presentations, Mr. Jeff Rayner has requested an opportunity to question councils on whether they understand the scale of the serrated tussock weed problem is in Sully's Flat and Crude Iron areas where he manages own 2 properties. Thank you very much, Mr. Rayner. Yes. Yeah, both there. Thank you.
You want me to come up there or not?
I know. Wherever you feel comfortable to present. Where's the? I'm just wondering where the camera.
Well, that's what I thought. Do you want
Yeah,
me to come?
yeah, that's right.
Thank you. I'm actually reading for Jeff.
That's right.
So good afternoon, and thank you for the time to address this meeting. And thank you to Bruce and to Tim for all the correspondence we've had with regarding to setting this up. We've asked to speak to the meeting as we've been put under an individual biosecurity direction. I mean, we know we have a weeds problem. It stares us in the face every day, and it's not like we're not doing anything. This year alone, while we've been waiting on a helicopter, we put out 2,630 litres. Now, I know that's not probably, we still don't know what is reasonable, and for us at the moment that wasn't reasonable, but there were circumstances, personal circumstances relating to why there was only that small amount put out by hand. Waiting for the helicopter, well, we can't get it to come any quicker. We keep a diary of what we're able to do each year. But in regards to the Central Tablelands Weeds Authority's amendment to the compliance and enforcement policy, we'd like to address the recommendations put forward regarding this section titled Weed Clusters. As we will be under this category and more than likely fined, we feel that we should be able to discuss this with the board. Weed cluster, we feel, is just another name for the weeds biosecurity officer to call the tussock problem, a problem that is rampant from Hill End to the Crude Iron, Safala, Chirindale and anywhere else you want to drive. But our question is this going to help the situation? Biosecurity or individual biosecurity directions, how is this helping the tussock problem when you're only dealing with the one property? Will it work when you're singling out one person in a neighbourhood? The tussock problem in our area is bigger than just our property. We've got the question of fines. Is that solving the problem? In our case, we don't feel that it will, because we're trying to do the best we can with the income that we have, but it just never seems to be enough. Our question is, what is the minimum amount do we have to do? We've also been proactive in addressing our situation, connecting with an independent agronomist who was willing to help us to devise a program to improve our situation, but that all takes time and money. As full-time wool growers with no off-farm income, for example, wind towers or any other business, It means we are limited to what we can do each year. The last 5 years, our income has continually dropped. This year alone, we are down $60,000 in income, not profit. Education should be a priority, especially to non-residential based landowners, which our area is full of. They have no idea what their obligations are in owning a property when it comes to biosecurity, and some really don't care. So then if they are not addressing the problem, a fine probably is the best way. Obligations to biosecurity is not only weeds, but feral animals as well. We have a really high pig population, wild dogs, goats and foxes, which just means another expense for us. So we're asking, why should we as landowners be fined and then it be used for paying for education and or maybe chemical, when financially we're struggling to spray all of our own weeds anyway? Better communication is really important. So is being a good neighbour. In rural areas, that means helping and supporting your neighbour, not dobbing them into the Weeds Council. How are we going to maintain a good relationship is what you're asking, with a neighbour who doesn't live in the area, who drives up whenever they feel like it, has no respect or thought of what is happening to the person that they are reporting. Then they pack up and drive back to their home without a care in the world. If there was open communication and a rural mutual respect, or even considering each other's needs, then we wouldn't be in the position we are in. We have just acquired 6 new non-residential neighbours on one boundary. Thankfully, all of who we have a respectful and friendly relationship with, thank goodness. But they do not know anything about weeds, what they are, or how to eradicate them. All the new title of weed cluster will do is cause more anxiety, stress and division for us, and yet has it fixed our weeds problem? All you are doing is kicking a person when they're down. There is so much more that I feel you need to know about our situation, especially the problems we have faced over the years from using helicopters and sprays and the results from that, all of which nobody at the time realised. We thought we were doing the right thing. The spray was being used to the correct instructions. Everything was being done right, yet all it did was create a major problem. What we'd like to discuss with the board is, but I know we're on a short time frame, is, which we respect, we're more than open to any more questions, to people asking what we do. I know that's not going to happen today, but it's not about today, it's about moving forward, and we're only too willing to work with people and to help make this problem more accessible to everybody. Thank you for your time, and especially thank you to Bruce and to Tim for allowing us to talk today, and I hope I've covered enough in the short time of our situation.
Yeah, great job, great job.
Thank you.
So, Chair, may I move that we actually take on notice their questions and come back to them with answers? Yeah. So, and hopefully they can leave their paperwork so that we might be able
Mr.
to.
Mrs. Rayner, would you be able to leave some of your questions? Have you got those written down? We'd like to get back to you.
I can email it because it's all scribbled.
Okay.
How can I set it out?
If you send it out an email, that'd be great. Appreciate it. You've got my email or Tim's email?
Got Tim's email, so more than happy to do that. Thank you very much.
With respect, Chair, is it possible to organise an on-site meeting?
And if we wanted, once we've got the questions, etc., if we want an on-site meeting, would you be open for us to come out? As
Yes,
a board?
Oh, that's good.
no
Thank you.
worries at all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. We did have a workshop a little earlier that did actually touch on a few of the issues you've made before this meeting. So, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm happy to move that we take those questions on notice and come back to them.
Yes, thank
Some
you.
answers.
Well,
There's a
I
second.
think we've said that by asking questions to
Yep.
you as. Because I think that's, all right, I'll second that. All in favour? Thank you. Just wait for Bethany to come back. Well, I suppose I can move to item 6. Did you second that? Yes, I did. Item 6, confirmation of minutes of the ordinary meeting of council of the.
I'll move it.
May. Move it, please.
Yeah, I'll move it.
The ring, second, please. Member Dawson. Okay. Any discussion of the minutes? If not, all in favour? Thank you. We go to item 7, which is confirmation of the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of council the 21st of May 2025. We'll move it, please.
Chair, I need to amend this.
Are we going to?
Well, I'm happy to move with an amendment because there's an error
Right,
within them.
just a second, you have a seconder?
Yeah.
Gulliver, right.
With regard to 5.1.2, 5.1.3, 5.1.4, 5.1.5 and 5.1.6. They were actually, I'm sure, moved by you. I thought it was by Councillor Fry, but I'm happy if it was Gulliver, one or the other. But we actually did pass them, and I did check on the video, and we passed them as an omnibus motion with all 5 being passed, and very late in the part 1 of the video. So I did check to make sure that that was passed, where it says here that we resolved. We didn't defer these. We deferred the QBRS, but we didn't defer from 5.12. Yeah. So happy to move with that amendment that they were all passed. And could you just check whether it was Fry or Gulliver who second? I know Member McKibben moved them. I was chairing the meeting, but just for accuracy, I'm not 100% sure. I just can't quite remember who it was. Okay,
now,
that's the only.
Creates a problem in tonight's business paper as well, this afternoon's business paper, because I bought those forward. Yeah.
We'll have it. So we'll just move that. We've already resolved that.
Yes.
When we get to
Um, any other changes? If not, sorry,
That's your mover and seconder.
that's right, Minister Gulliver, yes, subject to those amendments being made to 5.12 to 5.16 inclusive. Noting that those investment reports were actually accepted and approved. Okay, subject to that amendment, all in favour? Thank you. Go to item 8. Confirmation of minutes of the extraordinary meeting of council on the 12th of June 2025. Move it, please. Councillor Ring, seconder. Councillor Fry. Just while Bethany's here, can you just hold fire on that one for a minute? So Bethany, while you're out.
Yeah, I'll go to item 6.
Item 6, member Ring
No, I'm fine, thanks.
and, sorry,
That's all.
and member, seconded by member Dorset, that was item 6.
Yep.
Item 7 was member Reynolds and seconded by member Gulliver, but with changes to 5.12 to 5.16 inclusive. They were, all those investment reports were accepted and approved by the board at that meeting. It was only the QBRS that was deferred. Right, so we need to make those amendments. We're now up to item 8, which has been moved by member Ring and seconded by member Fry. Any discussion on item 8? Members? Katie, have you got your hand up? Oh, sorry. If no discussion, I put Put the recommendation as per the motion. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9. Report to the Australian Pesticides and Veterinary Medicines Authority, APVMA. Recommendation is that Council 1 increase the expenditure budget by $4,000 to fund Plant Science Consulting to undertake bioequivalence testing of Task Force versus Grow Choice Tussock versus Gen Farm Fluoropropionate herbicides, semicolon, and 2, submit to APVMA adverse experience reports regarding serrated tussock resistance testing and results. Could I have a mover for that motion, please? I'll move it as per the recommendation. I have a seconder.
Seconded, but I've got questions to ask.
I've got questions.
More questions. Given Reynolds. I'm quite happy with this because I think we do need to do efficacy tests on these products. However, I do know it's a cost of $4,000. I'm assuming, and I'll ask the General Manager, do we have funding for that? We have put a budget for it for next year?
We will have to create a budget for it, yes.
Where do we source the funds from?
Unrestricted.
I was going to actually comment on that if you would like, Chair. What hasn't been, well, I was going to ask the question for a start. We have allocated $7,000 for resistance testing, but this is separate to the $7,000.
Yes.
Is my first question. So thank you, General Manager. And then with regard to this, so there's been nothing allocated, but is this a one-off or is this annually or?
This is
One-off, as I understand it.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, it is unbudgeted. So I would suggest that in the next QBRS, the first quarter QBRS, that this was actually put in because the budget papers are already in the business paper, so we can't amend them.
So I think, so I'm happy with it, but we need to add 3, that an amount of $4,000 be allocated in the QBRS. The next one will be September, won't it?
It'll be the first quarter.
For the QBR's first quarter, 2026. Are you happy with that amendment? Seconder? Minor amendment. Okay, just before we have general discussion, can you just brief us? We've read all the paperwork, the letters back and forward, but is there any other comments you'd like to make?
You would note that I actually invited him to come and visit.
Yes.
We haven't had a response to that, but I was informed that they are considering it. So you may have some of the delegates from the organisation actually on site, which would be a plus.
Yes.
Other than that, I believe we've sort of travelled down the correct path and we've caught their attention, which is very positive for the landholders that are raising concern about this problem of both resistance and also the efficacy of those products.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, I've been concerned about the efficacy of the product for a while. So thank you. Any further comment? Member Reynolds.
I was just about to say, if they do take up the offer and come, that the members be given an invitation to come along. As in, some members probably can't on a particular day, but as in given that opportunity, this would be great to engage on issues that we're foreseeing, and particularly with resistance in some of our properties. And if there is an on-site inspection, if they're going to go to a resistance property, then it'd be great education for some members to go along and actually have a look. If that's permissible.
I would ask the General Manager if we have a response, let's say by the 7th of July, that'll be followed up.
It's a great day to receive responses on the 7th of July. Could I just add to your comment, Mr. Chairman, that the opportunity may exist for us. We've been requested by Oberon Council to participate in a discussion with a farmers group in Thurroga. And we know that we have some issues in that area. So I was thinking that you may be able to tie these two matters together, that would be a good place to actually have these visitors if they do tie the two things together. We've met some of the farmers down there at shop.
Yes. No, there are problems. Yeah, been a lot of problems.
That's okay, yeah.
All right, any further discussion on this matter? If not, put the motion as per the recommendation with the addition of that point 3, that an amount of $4,000 be allocated to QBRS first quarter of 2026 for this project. All in favour? Thank you. Move to item 10, which is weed clusters. The recommendation is that council amend CTWA's compliance and enforcement policy to include a section titled weed clusters as another means for weed biosecurity officers to manage groups of high-risk properties by requesting that landholders agree to participating collectively in managing the biosecurity risks presented by their properties. 2, that weed clusters become section 10 of the compliance enforcement policy and that the policy be renumbered accordingly. Could I have a mover for the motion?
I'd like to actually move it. I'll move a new motion. I'd like to move that it's deferred until we get the questions from the couple that were here earlier, that we can look at it, because the information they provided has given me a different perspective on this. So I'd like to consider it further rather than at this meeting. So I want to move that we defer it till we get their questions.
And what about the notes from the workshop?
Well, the notes from today, well, I think we need to take into consideration as well. I'd like to see their views. I'd also like to see the property and what the options are. Honestly, I don't think we need to rush into this at this meeting.
No.
I think we need to take on board.
Might have been other reasons for this being in the business paper to do with the 7th of July.
Yeah, so that's what I'm moving. We defer it till we get the questions and further
Do
discussion.
you have a second for that motion?
Yeah.
Member Gulliver? So this matter be deferred
Yep.
until we receive
The questions, and we can work through them.
questions from the presenters.
Yeah, and work through them. And look, I mean, I'd like to get out there, whether or not we do it as a group or whatever, but I would like to get out. I haven't been out to Sally's flats for years.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to get a better feel for the extent of the problem. Looking at the aerials is one thing, but being on the ground is entirely different.
Member Gulliver?
Yeah, I'll be happy to take councillor Rig out there too.
Member Reynolds?
Yep.
I was just going to ask a question for you, Chair, to the Chief Biosecurity Officer. Whether in deferring there are any ramifications to what the biosecurity officers are currently doing across our 4 constituent council areas.
Answer Reynolds' question first. No, I don't think there's any negatives to deferring at the moment. I think myself and the rest of the staff would be more happy to take our time and make sure we've got it right and look at all the other influences in that. If that answers your.
Could I also Chair, that I think it'd be good for the staff to look at the GIS data to see where the groupings are.
Yeah.
And how many we've got. Just to get that raw data so we can see what it is.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is conceptually, even listening to this presentation, but I'm not sure that by actually trying to manage it as a cluster is going to have any more impact necessarily on one particular landholder, because it will then take them all into account and their circumstances all into account in trying to manage them. And in fact, it may be the means by which we can actually be more proactive with some of these non-resident landholders who are causing the problem. But I think it would be good to understand when we're geographically putting these into clusters, what those geographical areas might look like. So I don't know if we need another workshop to have a look at that, or it's been already looked at by the cluster working group. For those who were in it, I don't know. Maybe someone could comment on that. Who was in it?
We did not do that sort of research, no.
No. Just to understand, what sort of areas we're looking at. Again, it may be something that needs to be subject to a further workshop. Maybe that would occur once we've had the answers from them. Any other views? All right. The motion is that the issue of weed, the the issue of weed clusters as another means for weed buyers to manage groups be deferred until a later meeting, till we've had correspondence from the presenters from today's meeting, 20th of June, 2025. Is that how you would like it?
Yep.
Happy with that, Member Gulliver?
Yep, great.
All right, all in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Item 11 is New South Wales Biosecurity Commission. The recommendation is that council notes the report. Move, please. Member Fry, Member Dorset, thank you. Member Fry.
More of a comment, Mr. Chair. Engagement with the New South Wales Biosecurity Commission process has been over a number of years, and it's additional workload to the general manager of this organisation. Probably just a note of personal thanks to our outgoing general manager that I'd like to deliver through this, and this piece of or this item is a kind of signifies the extra workload of a general manager position that's doesn't have all the hours in a week that it potentially should. So I'd just like to say that over not just the start of this term, but last term, we enjoyed working with that outgoing general manager, Tim, and wish him all the best on behalf of myself and the previous board. And I'm sure that this board feels the same way as well. So just a vote of thanks through this item, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so maybe we should change the heading of item 11 to New South Wales Biosecurity Officer, and thanks to our outgoing General Manager. Is that what you like? So item 1 was B, council notes the report. Item 2 is council expresses its thanks and appreciation for the work of Tim Johnston as General Manager of CTWA over the last how many years?
3 years.
The last 3 years. Is that what you'd like?
That's fine, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Item 2. And who was the second of that? Was are you happy with that, Member Dawson?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussion? Yes.
Yes,
Member Reynolds.
Did you want to go first, gentlemen?
I'm happy to. I've had further correspondence only today from the Commissioner's office, and they're advising us that the recent announcements by both the Premier and other members of Parliament in relation to the state budget and the increased funding that is going into biosecurity is unrelated to the Biosecurity Commissioner's pending report. The report has not been lodged as yet, so the two are not directly related. But I think it's still very positive news that there is something happening, and keep your eye on it.
So we know the amount of funding?
The funding that was, I only saw it during a news bulletin on television, but the Premier was the one that spoke, and they were talking about many millions of dollars being committed. They then went to stories about pest animals in Western New South Wales. So I don't know whether those two stories were linked or that was just the station that.
So we don't know it's in relation to pest animals or it's in relation to
Correct.
Okay.
But please, I think Member Reynolds is going to share some.
Member Reynolds, you have this political insight into the
The general manager was preempted part of my comments.
Sorry for stealing it.
So no. It was. I'm trying to add. I thought it was about 130 million extra.
Well, I'm not scared to say that. It's a very big number.
I think it was 138 was on the top of my head, but I could be wrong. So please, I know I'm being recorded on video, but
Watches this.
yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Premier. But it didn't appear, a lot of it appeared to be going into research stations. From the information that was provided, I had a look on the land and website, because I subscribe to the land and ABC and the state government as an announcement. So there was an announcement, and it was very, very broad, but seemed to focus mostly on feral animals. So whether national parks or other agencies get a proportion, I don't know. It was very, very broad because the budget, of course, is next Tuesday. And it was sort of, it's in pre-budget announcements. So I didn't get that excited. I don't think they even mentioned the word weeds. They mentioned biosecurity a lot, but very little in the way of weeds. So it is concerning because I sort of thought, oh, here's an opportunity. We might see a doubling, for example, of WAP funding. But it doesn't appear to be that or any other projects. But next Tuesday will tell us more when the actual formal budget papers come down. But I wouldn't be holding your breath, Chair and members. The other part of my comment was I've had long discussions with the outgoing biosecurity commissioner, that's the right word, one-on-one, and I really thought she was a breath of fresh air. I was disappointed to hear once she makes her recommendations that she will be departing the position, because I really found that she was listening. She understood. I addressed her at a conference. I actually asked a question at a state conference in Sydney a month or so ago, and really found that, yeah, she knew her stuff, as in was really listening to weeds authorities, and the Upper Macquarie County Council, as she termed it, was noted. So the feedback from the General Manager through to her has been actually noted quite resoundingly. Whether the state government listens to what as in she will make recommendations to the Minister, Moriarty, and then there will be a reply or a response from the Minister sometime down the track. So whether we actually see any changes, but it was really pleasing though to hear that she'd actually noted what the Upper Macquarie County Council had been doing with regard to weeds.
She was very, very engaged when Tim and I both had a discussion with her earlier on, didn't we? And she seemed to grab on to a lot of the stuff we were saying. It's very, yeah, I agree with that.
So fingers crossed that something comes out of it, and it's it's the way to see.
She wanted a copy of our compliance and enforcement policy and a lot of things. A lot of material. All right. Any further discussion, members? If not, I put the motion as per, no, not as per the recommendation. 1, council notes the report. And 2, council expresses its appreciation and thanks for the work that Tim Johnson has done as General Manager of the CTWA over the last 3 years. All in favour? Passed unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Go to item 12. Priority matters. The recommendation of the council notes the report. Can I have a mover? Member Fry, second, and Member Gulliver. Thank you. Maybe you could lead us through this, General Manager. Yes. Are there any SP resistance? I note no further updates since the 16th of May.
Correct, and the discussion with the APV and is obviously very much now in that action. So I'd suggest that you leave that action open until we get a final result. The APV and see what's going there. The organisational structure item, I'm suggesting to you close the item. It's been dealt with in some detail in the budget process and the development of the operational plan. So you may wish to close that item.
Okay. I can update the next one. So we have a preferred candidate, and there is a confidential paper coming up, urgent confidential paper today. Once the contract of employment is engaged, we will be able to announce a successful candidate. The next one, Forestry Corporation, I can update that one. I have sent an email to Jason Kenton of Forestry, and he's away at the moment, and the person acting is Claire And I have spoken to her, I spoke to her recently, but she has yet to formally get back to me a response on that issue. I will chase her up, but there has been an email sent and she's aware of it. And in Jason's absence, I believe that Claire, his surname I can't remember at the stage, is handling it. And I did speak to her, yes, please leave that open. I did speak to her at a forestry club meeting about it briefly the other day, Oberon. On the OH staff mental health, I'll leave that with you, General Manager.
Yes, I have failed to finalise that document, but my efforts will continue during the next 2 weeks. That's 6 days. I would like to see the council receive an addendum to our current occupational health and safety policy directly related to mental health and primarily around the difficult tasks that they are assigned and the regulatory function. It really does need a lot of support. Chris does his bit, Bethany does her bit. We demonstrate to them that they're very much cared for and concerned about. And I'd like the council itself to join in on that with an addendum to the work health safety policy. It'll only be a brief report and you'll see that at the next ordinary meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very much. Then we've got the next one, which is the Central Regional Priority Weeds Inspection Plan. That matter may be closed, I believe.
Can I,
Sorry, yes.
I'd like to see a report actually come back to council on what it is. I'd like to some more information if it's there, and hopefully it wouldn't be too much work for us in a future council meeting to actually just highlight it and how it's actually going to work particularly with these pathways, incursions, and identifying pathways and sites and how we may fit in with that as a county council. So, as in rather than closing it per se, but actually bring it back as an item to a future council meeting.
Yes, happy to. Can we just please ensure that the members understand that this is about the really nasty weeds in Australia and in New South Wales. It's not, even though it's named the Regional Weeds Committee, the Regional Priority Weeds Inspection Plan, it's relating to the weeds of national significance, etc. So
again, we're referring to parthenium and other weeds like that. Yeah.
Correct. So we can just provide that report to each of the members, not a problem. Yeah.
Thank you. And then close it off.
Then close it, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All in favour of any other discussion? If not, I put the motion as per the recommendation. All in favour? Thank you. Go to item 13, governance program. 13.1 is finance, the quarterly budget review statement. The recommendation is that council notes the quarterly budget review statement for the period ending 31st of March 2025 and adopts the proposed budget adjustments. Could I have a mover, please? Member Reynolds, as per the recommendation. Member Gulliver, or Member Ring? Member Ring, right. Member Reynolds.
So as members may recall at the last extraordinary meeting, there were some concerns about whether the full data or information was provided, particularly looking at the full year, the full financial year. Following that meeting, I went back through the document and highlighted some areas that needed adjustments with the general manager and with the contractor who's actually doing this particular piece of work. We now have what I hope is a reasonably solid estimate of the final outcome. At the 3/4 mark, it looked as though about 50,000 negative. However, the final, there were a number of reasons for that, including a number of staff members leaving and having to pay out those staff members. But we now no longer, in the 4th quarter, we don't have the wages of 1 or 2 of those positions. So wage savings plus a few other savings should actually make us a surplus of around the $20,000 mark, but that is subject to some potential changes as we move towards the end of the year. So I'm hoping that we'll be close to break even is the ultimate outcome, but might be a small surplus from as a net operating result from continuing operations, but as in a lot better than I think we were forecasting. It was either $50,000 or $70,000 surplus, which was fairly inaccurate when we did the previous meeting. Chair.
Question for you, Mr Chair, to Member Reynolds. Has this been discussed with the ARIC committee?
The ARIC committee, all of us.
They got the BAS with the operational plan in it.
So, and I showed them the new BASP in particular, so not the QBRS.
Yeah.
With the adjustments because they were provided with the previous one that was sent to council. But the new one, their minutes will come forth for the next meeting because it was only earlier this week. Because I also sit as the delegate on that committee.
It's in the business activity strategic plan.
And I also highlighted with the QBRS roughly where, so again, I put it up as a screenshot. I think I put it up as a screenshot where we would potentially end. But they weren't actually provided it in the business paper because again, it was only completed earlier this week.
That's right.
Sorry. General Manager.
Every time the finance reports have been tabled since I've been here, I've had to refer to Councillor Reynolds. I think I've thanked him on numerous occasions for the effort that's been made there. But I think it's important to note on my departure that we won't be able to continue with the input of Councillor Reynolds, and I believe that the incoming candidate, when we do finalise arrangements there, can really add value to this report. And also, with the additional detail that you're receiving, I think your QBR report is going to place you in a very strong position to understand how the council is actually operating. The adjustments that are proposed that we'll deal with in a moment in the adoption of the operational plan puts you in really good stead looking forward over 10 years. It's been a wonderful piece of work that Bruce has done, but it can't continue. And the incoming general manager will pick up on that. And my understanding is that the skills of that particular candidate will be able to beat this and enjoy doing it. So just a couple of positive comments about that report. Thank you.
Thanks, General Manager.
Mr Chair, I hope that the incoming candidate doesn't get indigestion once a day either.
There's a big smile, though. It's your now.
Thank you, and yes, I would like to acknowledge all the work that Member Reynolds has done in relation to this financial report, the QBRs in particular, but also the BAS, the business activity strategic plan, which we'll get to next. All in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. We missed all those 13.1.2 to 13.1.6 were passed at the previous meeting, so they're not laid out to considered at this meeting.
So, Mr Chair, the only thing that I would add, we probably should have had a report for May.
We haven't got
because we're in June. So as in for the next meeting, we will need May, June, and July probably, because I assume it's August, I think is the next meeting. So just to note, as in for preparation, because we should have had one for May. For this
right, we move to 13.2, legislative compliance, 13.2.1 is business activity strategic plan, operational plan and delivery plan. The recommendation is that Council, 1, adopts the operational plan 2025-26 and delivery program 2025-26 to 2029-30 as exhibited, and adopts the business activity strategic plan 2025-26 to 2035-36 as exhibited. Can I have a motion, please? Thank you, Member Fry. Seconder, please. Member Ring, thank you. As per the recommendation, I assume.
Yes.
Anything else? Do you wish to speak on this, Member Fry? Member Ring?
No, thank you.
Member Reynolds, thank you.
No.
So
Making the adjustment.
members will notice three or a couple of substantive adjustments. The main one is the the cost for the departure of the current general manager, which will occur in the new financial year. So approximately $50,000 in payout for his retirement.
Money well spent.
We hope so, General Manager. That has been included, which has taken us as well as, and we don't know a figure yet, and maybe in confidential today, we may have some more information with regard to internal audits. And so I've allocated an extra $10,000 to take it up to, I think it's 25, if my memory serves me right. So an extra $10,000 there per year, indexed to inflation for internal audit. So when you put all that together, we are on the current projection, we would lose about $160,000 over 10 years. The balance sheet is there, so the statement of financial position for the 10 years is also there, which would reduce by $160,000 our net worth, our assets, over that 10-year period. But again, it's the new general manager will probably really eat this up as well, using the expression from the current general manager, and I'm sure have a look at some potential cost savings, and I do have a few ideas moving forward that may be able to save the county council some money and keep us in the black on an annual basis. Where we do appear in the black, and it's important to recognise, I think there's only 2 years out of the 10, that's 29, 30 and 30, 31. That's when we do sell assets, which we have written down to zero. Some councils don't write them down to zero, as in Blaney Shire Council, for example, as in it has a residual amount left, but this council chose a number of years ago to write them off over, I think it was 6 years. The motor vehicles in particular, and when we trade them in, we do actually get a residual value, which we've guesstimated at around about, I think it was 15,000. It was either $12,000 or $15,000 per vehicle. So that's why they will appear in surplus in those couple of years, because of the sale of motor vehicles. I think that's a quick explanation of where we sit, Chair. But again, it's how good your crystal ball is and every other member's crystal ball is of where we're going to end up. I've done my best as an economist to put the best assumptions I know in there, but it could be well out even at the end of this next financial year.
And we don't know.
I'll put that provision in there as an economist.
It could be well.
We don't know what happens by a security commission.
But-
How much is accepted by the government and how much is not accepted by.
But and that's part of the reason. And as you will see with the budget for this year, we were projecting $13,873 profit or surplus, and we're projecting about 20,000. So, and I had a lot to do with that previous budget as well with a former staff member. So I think, as in, hopefully our assumptions are close. But again, I can't definitively say, and I think factors may impact one way or the other. It could become worse or could become better. I'll leave it there, Chair.
All right, any further comments?
Yeah, just one, Chairman. Bruce, I hope you're very wrong, and that the government gives you lots of money to whack.
Fingers crossed.
You've been on the whack bandwagon ever since I've been here.
Mr. Chair, I have lobbied and lobbied and lobbied. I concur, as in generally to a brick wall that doesn't respond back.
Of both political persuasions, I think.
Yes.
All political persuasions.
The camera's on, Mr. Chairman, let's go.
I think I'm saying about all political. But I'm being selective. All right. All in favour of this motion as per the recommendation? Thank you. Carried unanimously.
Thank you very much.
We go to 13.3, councillor remuneration. The recommendation is that the council review the Office for Local Government Circular and fix the annual fee to be paid to councils and chairpersons from the 1st July 2025. Council member annual fee effective 1st July 2025, minimum 2,090, maximum 6,930. Mayoral chairperson additional fee effective 1st July 2025, minimum 4,490, maximum 4,670. Noting that the mayoral fees inclusive is paid in addition to the fees paid to the mayor chairperson as a council member. Move of a recommendation.
So we need to write a recommendation then, Chair.
Yes, we do.
And what I have done, may I explain before I move something? And I don't have the exact figure.
What is the other figures?
What I have done in the budget is last year's maximum is this year's recommendation, so it's 1 year behind. Was we've just passed as the budget. I don't know the exact figure.
Well, it's minus 3%, 3.5%.
I think it is.
So we do the calc.
It's about 6 or something, is it?
Yeah, hold on.
Members and about 12.
45%, isn't it?
No, it's 3.5%. So, yeah, so decrease that. So 6687. 6687
And
is the current and the recommended motion from councillor Reynolds, and then the
For the chair.
chair one will be 12,226. Money well spent with our great chair.
I note that over on Tuesday night, voted for no increase in fees for councillors and,
That's what we're doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're putting it up to last year, so it's
Oh,
going
were
up.
we not at?
this year. No, we were not at the maximum last year. We were 1 year off.
Right.
I've kept it at 1 year below the maximum.
Seems
So-
appropriate.
So in our current financial straits, should we actually putting it up at all?
Well, Mr. Chair, we've just passed a budget with an increase to that level, so.
Then we have to do it though.
Correct. Look, the members, my attitude is, and I watched another council that actually agreed to it this week, to putting them up to the maximum, so not a county council, but a general purpose council. Our council meets next week. But the members do a lot of work, do a lot of reading, do a lot of workshops, etc. And the remuneration is not that high per hour of work. So personally, I support the recommendation I've just moved.
You would appreciate, Member Reynolds, that we are respective mayors of smaller councils and get paid considerably less than larger councils, but we probably do nearly as much work, and we accept that. My question is,
And this was a larger council, by the way, but
as this is a smaller organisation, we note we're making 160,000 loss projected over the next 10 years. Should we be pulling our horns in a bit and saying, and not increasing our fees?
No, I think we should increase it. I agree with Member Reynolds, and I'm happy to second it.
So the figures would be 6,686 as councillor fees, 12,226 for the additional mayoral allowance. Is that what you said?
We could reduce the mayor allowance if you want. I got no problem with that.
no,
Just put it out there.
Mr. Chair, I think the chair does a lot of work, and it should be recognised for the amount of work. So
I'm quite happy to have it flatline if you'd like.
no, I'm happy to support the remuneration as I stated in the recommendation, but it's up to the rest of the members.
I'm quite happy if councillors wish the annual fee to go up and the mayor stays the same.
I'll stick with the original recommendation unless it's defeated.
Yeah.
Let's be all moving that.
Unless someone moves an amendment to my original recommendation.
I'll move an amendment.
Oh,
All right, I won't move an amendment. That's what you want. I'm quite happy.
No one's watching me.
Put it to the
Okay.
vote.
Put the motion.
Put it to the vote.
The motion is, and I just want to put this down to make sure that we have the figures correct. That council increase councillor member annual fees effective 1st July 2025 to $6,687, and increase the mayoral / chairperson additional fee to 12,226. Is that what you're proposing?
Yes.
Member Reynolds? Member Ring?
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I put the motion as per what I've just announced. All in favour? Carried unanimously. We go to item 14, biosecurity compliance, roadside spraying program. Recommendation is that council notes the report. Move it, please. Member Gulliver, seconder, Member Ring. Member Gulliver. Yes, I take it the motion as per the recommendation, yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Member Ring,
No.
Member Reynolds,
A question through to probably the general manager or chief biosecurity officer. There was the report says here that all 4 have been completed. So my question was, Oberon was still outstanding at the last report. There was still a number of thousands of dollars. Was that completed and effectively completed, given the lateness in the season?
General Manager,
This is the Oberon.
this is the Oberon one. Once we stopped it on the O'Connell Road, remember?
That's correct.
Yes.
My understanding is that there was around $11,000 balance. I'm sorry, I haven't got the numbers in
I
front.
thought it was something less than that at the end.
Yes, that's correct. It was reported to the general manager of Oberon at that time. There was further work done along the
Different road.
yes,
Yeah.
and that is in section 2. So the end result of that has been reported to Oberon, that it wasn't the 11. It was more like 8 or something.
Eight comes to my mind.
Thank you.
Following on from that, what has occurred with the discussion with the Transport for New South Wales to improve traffic management plan, etc., noting that there was an issue?
Yeah, we're red hot on this issue today because we only had a meeting this morning with Transport for New South Wales. We had 2 councils represented, and apologies from the other 2. It looks as if we have got a small problem in that the delegation of the requirements imposed on each of the councils for compliance with traffic control rests with those councils, and the county council taking those on board, that responsibility on board, needs to be dealt with either in the service level agreement, or we will have to negotiate traffic control requirements as an individual item to each of the councils on an annual basis about how that's going to occur. Transport for New South Wales this morning indicated to the meeting that it's their view that the difference between a state road and a regional road will come off in the near future. At the moment, they do treat them differently in the traffic control management arrangements. So there's some complexities there that I'd rate as of high importance to the county council over the next couple of months. It will be on my brief to the general manager that work needs to be done. It really did become complicated, Mr. Chairman, that we did have an incident where a Transport for New South Wales officer actually saw one of our plants on the road and did report that to a council, and that brought it to our attention. And we found through studying that, and we got to a point now where the contractor actually was put themselves in danger, increased the chances of an accident by working hard and trying to treat weeds in the gully next to the road. This was a part of a busy road with ARPCO, is it called, railing, and they were on the roadside of the railing, treating the weeds.
But they're permitted to do so.
Under the plan that we had, we thought they were, but it's been brought to our attention that our operators had to be 1.5 metres off the road, and so did our equipment, Mr. Chairman, that we weren't fully compliant with the plan that we did put forward. So I'll just ask Chris to clarify any of those matters, because Chris will have to do this work before the next road program to ensure that we are meeting those requirements.
Yeah, so it comes down to basically where the operations are undertaken, how far you can get people in machinery or vehicles off the road surface. So what's going to cause us problems? So for most of what we're doing, we're fine. We meet all requirements. It's when we get...
And that's with the 2 vehicles that we're currently operating.
So the running spray vehicle and the escort vehicle behind it, most of what we do, according to Transport New South Wales, we're fine with that. We're meeting what we need to meet. A problem becomes when we need to get within 1.5 metres of the road surface, so basically from the fog line. If we can't get ourselves 1.5 metres off the road, we then need to look at reducing the speed zone of the road to the acceptable rate so that we can work within that.
What's that, 40 kilometres an hour?
40 k an hour.
Is that 1.5 from where? The centre of the road or the side of the road?
Extra rate.
Well, there's a lot of roads, even state and regional, we wouldn't be able to get 1.5 metres off it.
That's it. So that causes a problem in that we need to drop the speed zone. We operate under dynamic works, which means we're a moving work site. We continually move down the roadside. And then within dynamics, there's 3 different subsections of dynamic works. So we meet one of those sections, which is what lets us work on the side of the road, normally without interfering. But when we get within those distances, we're going to have to drop speed zones. The advantage we've got is that we're not interfering with the road surface, we're not interfering with the road traffic. Our operations are outside of the road corridor. So that gives us a lot more flexibility and ease with that. Where we run into troubles is going to be things like cuttings or guardrails where we can't get off the road. Obviously, we can drive past or we can pull back and try and operate outside, like get on the other side of a guardrail. But half the reason there's a guardrail there is because there's a pretty bad hole on the other side of the guardrail. So we've got to look into that on how we can work around that to still be as effective as we can, but provide the cover
without
that we
additional
do.
cost.
Yeah. So, but the good news is the majority of what we're doing, we're okay. The other concern or information that they brought up was that it looks like, so at present, if your council is under contract with RMS, you operate under the T-Core system. If you're not under contract with RMS, you operate under the Ausroad system. Ausroad and T-Cores are very close to each other. What they've mentioned to us is in the next little while, it hasn't gone through yet, but they're proposing that local roads will become the same level of traffic control as a state road. So all your little roads, all your non-highways, non-state roads will have the same level of traffic requirements as what a major road.
So how do we object to that? Because that's absurd on a road which has got 3 cars a day.
Can
I
I
know,
comment
and
on
they
that?
come back
And
to
as
us.
I understand, they have to amend the Roads Act because currently the control of those local roads is with the local council.
I know, as I said, that nothing's official yet. It's just what they've.
Can I ask a question just before you? So where we get the escarpments, or we have the, the down or up, or we go in cutting, does that mean if we wish to be within 1.5 metres of the side of the road, that we have to then put up 40-kilometre signs? And how many? And where?
We can put up 40-kilometre signs. What we can do though is we can stay dynamic. As long as we're not interfering with the road's carriageway, we can stay dynamic and our speed signs can be part of our escort vehicles. So what that will allow us to do is we still to stay mobile, but as they approach our work site, the traffic slows down till they get past us and then they can speed.
So that would allow us to, as long as we're not doing the service, we can, in that case, we can be 1.5 metres. We don't have to be 1.5 metres from the edge of the road.
No,
So if we come to a guardrail and the escort vehicle behind us has got a 40-kilometre sign on the back of it, I just want to be in practical terms, and we've got a guardrail that's that far from the edge of the rail and we need to spray down the escarpment or up into the cutting, because if you spray from the bottom up, the spray will go onto all the cars coming by. we can
As
do
long as we're not parked on the road surface, so if you can park at the other end.
Oh, you still can't park on the road surface.
No, you
No,
have to close the lane.
if you park on the road surface, then you've got to close the lane. But if you can park at
And
the
then
other
we
end.
stop and go officers, both ends of
So
that.
does it mean that you can still pull the hose along the area of the road and spray down?
As long as you're not on the road carrying away, it's still.
So if you're off the road side, and you're not treading on the road, you're between the exit and the
If you're on
lane,
the
and you're walking along, you can spray down and let us go. I'm getting right down to the nitty gritty, but I'm trying to understand what the requirement is.
What if you're on a motorcycle? No, I'm joking.
Can I make a point, Mr. Chairman? Thank you for your questioning, Mr. Chairman. This has got a whole lot of issues in front of us. Chris is going to have to work through them.
I'm still going through it. Give me
Yeah, but
time
there's
to
one
ask.
really important one here is that there's a risk assessment involved. And the risk assessments that we have undertaken for all the years that this council's been roadside spraying, they're local roads, we understand them, we know what they're about. So we have been able to assess the risk in an adequate way to be able to do what we're talking about now with the two vehicles going forward. It's this problem of not being able to get 1.5 off the road that's the major problem for going forward next year.
Yeah. So basically.
And that can be resolved. I think it can be.
The problem is when we get within that 1.5, that's the crux of what causes the problem.
But keep thinking safety. These is
But the trouble is,
contractors
like
like that.
blackberries and things that are growing up to the road surface. And we need to treat.
They're growing over the road.
That's what I mean. Yeah, we need better treat to that point.
Yes.
If anything's going to bring us undone, it'll be a safety issue if we haven't conducted the right way. So we'll leave it up to Chris to sort it out, but we've got to really get that right.
Yeah.
And we've got to discipline it because that's just how it is. And I understand Member McKibben asking all those questions because we're trying to be a bit practical about it.
That's what
Unfortunately,
we're trying to make sure we make the.
we live in the lawyer world, don't we?
Yeah.
We do, but again, I've always had an issue as to whether we need an escort vehicle on the local road where we get 3 cars a day, but I'm talking, economies of scale, so you can't differentiate between, and it has increased our costs quite considerably, and all councils are acutely aware of the cost that roadside spraying is costing at the moment. And it was initially Oberon, but I understand a lot of councils are now asking the questions on the issue.
Mr. Chairman, we did meet on those matters with the general managers and it was, I think, cost was not a priority issue to them. The issue that we were hearing was that we're interested in the Oberon Council. They're going to go and test the market and very interested in watching that go through and most probably participating in it. And that'll be a decision of the council whether you want to participate in that. But the most significant factor is that we have our staff out there. So the work health safety obligations just can't, there's no flexibility there. The part-time general manager that you appoint is responsible for that. So we will adopt all of the safety requirements that we possibly can that Transport for New South Wales are putting in front of us. But we're not putting our staff out there on roadside as from the 1st of July. They are contractors and we work hard with them about ensuring they're aware of the risks and they sign up to a document every time at the beginning of the program and we discuss it with them. So moving forward, I think it's a good thing to have this challenge at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Member Gallagher, please, sir.
Getting back to what I was saying about litigation, if you punch in the formula into the computer and we're at 1.47 metres out, and we're meant to be 1.5, the computer says no.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with now.
Well, my question to these gentlemen was how do you judge precisely that your escort vehicle is 300 metres behind behind your initial vehicle, when you may not even have line of sight, and be able to get even a laser thing to tell you that's 300 metres.
Oh, you stole my thunder. It was going to be a golf story. They're measuring.
Can we defer that question?
Please do.
Could we put the motion? Could we just go down in circles?
My hand up here for 10 minutes.
Oh, you missed out, mate. You missed out, you missed out.
I'm going to suggest two things. Joint organisation, given this will have an impact on every council in the joint JO, and we are an associate member of this entity is an associate member, and they do have a traffic section or a transport section within the JO, or two sections. One, the chair chairs communication with transport, and I also sit on that. Secondly, the directors sit on a separate working group, all 11 of the normal council. I think they need to be involved. If there's going to be changes, they need to be involved at a JO level, and that may also be able to provide some support rather than us having to carry everything ourselves.
Yeah.
If we can get the JO involved. So I think that's very, very important, Chair. And secondly, I just did want clarification, but I think that the director did say, I think because the general manager said state roads and regional roads, then the director said local roads, because there is three separate classifications of it, and I assume it's all three that will come under this potentially new, or this change. It won't be just regional roads, which are generally you get block grant funding for those, and the state roads are controlled by the state government. So, but again, I think the JO should be involved, and I think we should work with.
So I'm proposing an amendment to the recommendation which was put by Gulliver and Reed for point 2, that the report will be prepared to go to the chairman for providing information to that JO's transport committee, re the current position in relation to state and regional roads, and the proposed position of what you've been told by transport. Is that agreeable to Members Gulliver and Reed?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I think we should, I agree with Member Earls. I think we've got the opportunity to raise it. We have a meeting, we meet quarterly, so we can raise it with the Transport for New South Wales. We have I chair the Transport for New South Wales interaction group as well, so we can raise it there directly. And if I have information.
Is the resolution asking you to raise it, or is the resolution?
It's asking you to give me a report so I can raise it with Transport for New South Wales.
And the JO too.
And the JO.
Put both in there.
Both in there. We had chair a JO, I chair the JO meeting, and then I chair the JO interactive with transport.
That'll be a brief report, Mr. Chairman.
But it has to be brief. Bullet points 5.
Yes.
Okay. All in favour? Thank you. Next slide. 14.2, property inspections, recommendation of council notes report. Move please, Member Gulliver, Member Dawson, thank you. Any commentary, General Manager or Chief Biosecurity Officer?
Chris, will you talk with him?
Comment from before about the first inspections.
Yes.
And then the number of them being so high as low risk. Large portions of them are the roadside inspections. Predominantly the roads that haven't been treated before, but because we inspect as we treat, they've been controlled at time that we've inspected, so therefore they're a lower risk because they've been controlled at the same time. So that's what's bumped that number right up, and why that looks a bit out of place there.
So, sorry, does that mean that if you classified a road 3 or 4 and then you spray it, you immediately reclassify it as a 2 or a 1?
Yeah, because we've done the inspection at the time.
We haven't done enough chemicals work if you're just spraying it at the time. But anyway, I'll leave that in. Thank you.
With the 90-day one We had that number at the time the report was written. As of a few days ago, that 90-day past number is about half of that now from the ones that have been knocked off in this month.
So say 50?
So about 50-ish. So even though it looks quite big there, over the last couple of weeks, that's been knocked back down again.
So do I then take it that of the 114, the two first inspections, of that 114, if the majority of them were roads, did we only really do 6 initial inspections of properties? Or is that taking that analysis too far? Okay.
Take it on notice, Chris.
Any other, just member Reynolds?
I did want to put a bit of congratulations, or there's a positive within these figures.
Yeah.
Chair, and that is 129 of the re-inspections, i.e. they were a 3 or a 4, became low risk. So we are seeing some positive outcomes. It's not all negative, in dropping off 129 properties where farmers have taken their biosecurity responsibility and actually acted it to a point where a question through to the Chief Biosecurity Officer, through you, Chair, they would have come back down. The question is, have they come back to a 1 and a 2, or are they still under direction with that, as in, given that they're 129 are low risk, and they will come back down to 1 and 2?
So being a re-inspection that's ended up in a low risk means, yeah, as you said, they've undertaken their duty, done the work, and moved down. If they were to be either progressed through the system or be granted an extension, they would remain a high risk at that time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Of the re-inspections from July 24 to 31st of May 2025, of the re-inspections, I do know 332 of those were high risk and 422 were low risk. So again, there's more than half moving to low risk, but more encouraging in the last month. Okay, any further discussion? All in favour? Thank you. We move to 14.3. Penalty infringement notices. The recommendation that council notes the report. Move it, please. Member Gulliver, Member Reynolds. Member Gulliver. Member Reynolds.
I was just going to again highlight or congratulate the staff that they've issued a number of new pins in recent weeks, which shows, as in, we seem to hit a stalemate for a period of time, but the staff have certainly been increasing the issuing of a number of pins, doing inspections. So our compliance seems to be ramping up, and hopefully landholders that aren't compliant are taking notice.
And I think you've got a further update for us on pins.
Yeah.
So maybe you could give us that.
So there's those ones that have been issued by the time the report was done. We've also issued a couple of other ones since the report was done to now. And then the other stuff might have to wait to the confidential section. Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion on this? If not, I put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. We go to item 15, which is notice of motion. We don't have a formal notice of motion, but I do have a mayoral minute, and I'll call it item 15, which is as per the piece of paper that's been put in front of you. This is rose out of the AREC meeting that was held on the 18th of June. Recommended by AREC that we should look at having a finance committee with a chair and I thought 1 or 2 other members. That as per the piece of paper as a mayoral minute has been presented to you today. Do I have a mover of a motion for setting up a finance committee, and then we will move into committee of the whole to determine who should be on it. So I have a motion that we.
I'll move it.
Member Ring, seconder. All in favour, we should have a finance committee or further discussion? Thanks. Right, let's move into the committee of the whole, then to consider who should be on that committee. Have someone to move to the committee of the whole, please. Member Ring.
Mr. Chair, couldn't I suggest that we do this plus the rest of the, otherwise we're going to come back out of the, I suppose committee of the whole is to debate. So I'm sorry, keep going.
Yes, thank you.
As opposed to closed.
We have a slice. All right, any nominations? I nominate first member councillor
Hold on, I have.
Reynolds as the,
No, keep recording.
keep recording, if it's confidential. Member Reynolds to chair it, and, two other members, any
I'm going to nominate member Ring.
rings?
Is member Fry interested
Member
or is he
Fry.
too busy with his?
Misbehaving councillor. I'm happy to be on it. Just wondering, did you envisage external membership and any honorariums attached to that, or what were you
I
thinking?
don't think it's of the nature to have an independent external, it's basically just goes through, we already have an external organisation, which is the ARIC. I don't think we really need a for the finance.
What's the status update on that?
On what?
On the
Eric,
ARIC?
probably
We've
needs to
got-
be discussed in
We
confidential.
need it confidential, but we will, there are three members of ARIC, we know that.
Okay, I'm happy to nominate for a position on that.
Right, so we're all happy with those three members?
Yes.
Reynolds to chair that, and then we've got Ring and Fry. All right, we'll move back.
Frequency of meeting.
Oh, how often do you want to make the book?
They're just here monthly for a start, with the new general manager to give direction, etc. So, and it was, and the reason for three originally.
Why don't we say monthly or as otherwise agreed?
Agreed, yeah. It's here in the item, the background, it's into,
Where?
in the background, or what's termed item, it actually suggests monthly meetings via Teams and including the general manager.
It also talks about terms of reference being prepared. Terms of reference will have to come back to
Yeah.
the governing body to endorse.
So just before we go, yes, okay, so what I'm. Okay, well, I think we can go, someone move us back into council, thank you. Thank you, member Ring, member Reynolds, thank you. All in favour? Thanks. So the second part of the motion will be, we've already agreed to appoint a finance committee. Number two, with the finance committee be chaired by member Reynolds, and the other members will be members Ring and Fry. The committee will meet monthly initially, monthly unless otherwise agreed by the members of that committee.
Perfect.
Terms of reference to be agreed by this, this board, at the next meeting. You happy with that? All right, so I'll move that. That one, second, please. Member Fry, thank you. Any further discussion? Did you get that, Bethany? Well done. Any further discussion? If not, I put the motion, all in favour. Thank you. Passed unanimously. I'd like the following matters to be dealt with in confidential part of the meeting. 17.1, prosecution update. 17.2, property inspections. And a new 17.3, which is Chairman's urgent report on an item involving section 3531 of the New South Wales Local Government Act 1993. Okay.
Chair, can we also have a 17.4 to discuss the discussions within the ARIC meeting?
Discussion on our
Correct.
recommendations from meeting of 18th June 2025. Okay, you got that right. So these items, and I assume you consider those all confidential, gentlemen, thank you. Council notes in accordance with section 9(2)A of the Local Government Act 1993. The general manager's opinion, the business on the agenda to be designated confidential, namely 17.1 prosecution update, 17.2 property inspections, 17.3 Chairman's urgent report in relation to a matter involving section 3531 of the New South Wales Local Government Act 1993, and 17.4 oral report on the ARIC recommendation of the 18th of June 2025 of a kind referred to in section 10A2 of the Act and should be dealt with in the part of the meeting close to the media and public. And further, in accordance with section 10B1 of the Act is considered discussion of the business in open meeting, but on balance be contrary to the public interest. Could I have a move, someone to move it? Member Fry, seconder please. Member Reynolds, all in favour? We cease recording. Thank you very much to those people in the gallery for your attendance at this meeting.